You wait with the patience of a sniper. And finally, for the 99% of you who do not have the time to analyze individual businesses, your strategy is even simpler. You wait for the market to crash, and then you start buying a low-cost S&P 500 index fund consistently every single month. You buy when it goes down, you buy when it goes down further, and you never panic sell. Over the last 250 years, there has never been a better bet than betting on the American economy. The American tailwind has not stopped. The economy will recover just like it always has. And the people who bought at the bottom will experience life-changing wealth when the next bull market begins. Before we finish, I want to leave you with a reality check about human nature. The greatest transfer of wealth in history always happens during periods of extreme distress. The middle class gets wiped out because they panic and sell their assets to the wealthy at a massive discount. It happens in every single recession. The people who are over-leveraged and completely unprepared are forced to liquidate everything they own just to survive. And the people who have been patient and accumulated cash step in and buy those assets for pennies on the dollar. I am telling you all of this because I do not want you to be on the wrong side of that transaction. You have the power to choose right now whether you will be a victim of the coming recession or a beneficiary of it. It all comes down to the habits you practice today. The stock market is not a casino, it is a mechanism for transferring wealth from the impatient to the patient. If you are constantly checking your phone and reacting to the daily news cycle, you are going to lose. But if you zoom out, I convince you that the rules of math no longer apply. Stay disciplined, stay rational, and remember that true wealth is built quietly over time, not overnight. Start building your cash reserves, kill your toxic debt, and get your shopping list ready for when the inevitable crash finally arrives. I have lived through more than a dozen recessions in my lifetime, and every single time the people who panicked lost everything, while the people who stuck to their principles built fortunes. You do not need to be a genius to survive what is coming in 2026. You just need to control your emotions and let time do the heavy lifting. The opportunity of a lifetime is coming for those who are prepared. Do not waste it by being impatient. History shows us that the American economic engine always restarts. There's a silent crisis happening right now, and almost nobody is talking about it. Most people think they are going broke because their salary is too low, or because the economy is rigged, or because inflation is eating away at their purchasing power. But the truth is much darker and much more personal. The middle class is not going bankrupt because of massive financial disasters. They are going bankrupt 4 easy payments at a time. I have watched brilliant, hardworking people destroy their future wealth. Not on Wall Street, not by making terrible investments in the stock market, but at the checkout counter today. I want to talk to you about the modern debt trap, the illusion of affordability that is quietly keeping millions of people trapped in the rat race. If you look back at history, debt was something people genuinely feared. It was a heavy burden. You only went into debt for a house or perhaps to start a business. It kept you awake at night. You wanted to pay it off as quickly as humanly possible. But over the last decade, the financial industry pulled off one of the greatest psychological tricks in human history. They took the stigma out of debt and rebranded it as convenience. They took the pain of handing over cash and replaced it with a simple, frictionless click on a screen. We live in the era of buy now, pay later. Everywhere you look, there is an option to split your purchase. Buying a new television, split it into 4 easy payments, booking a vacation you haven't saved for, finance it over 12 months, buying a pair of shoes, just pay $20 a day. It sounds completely harmless. It feels like you are gaming the system, like you are taking advantage of free money. But let me tell you what is actually happening behind the scenes. They hire the smartest psychologists and engineers in the world purely to figure out how to bypass your logical brain and separate you from your money. You are not buying a product. You are buying financial change. When you split a purchase into small monthly payments, your brain completely stops looking at the total cost of the item. You stop asking yourself the most fundamental financial question. Can I actually afford to spend $1,000 on this? Instead, you ask yourself, can I afford $50 a month? This is poverty thinking at its core. Build true net worth. You will simply accumulate massive collection of monthly obligations that slowly and predictably bleed your income dry. I want you to imagine a neighbor. Let us call him John. John makes $200,000 a year. He lives in a beautiful house. He drives a brand new luxury SUV. His family takes exotic vacations, and he wears watches that cost more than some cars. From the outside, John looks like the absolute picture of success. Society looks at John and says, he made it. But if you look at John's balance sheet, you see a completely different story. The house has a massive mortgage, the luxury SUV is leased, the vacations were put on a rewards credit card that he never quite pays off in full. The watch was financed through a buy now, pay later app. John has a tremendous amount of income, but he has absolutely zero wealth. In fact, his net worth is negative. Every single dollar that comes into John's bank account on payday is already spoken for. It is immediately sent out the door to pay for past consumption. John is terrified of losing his job because he is completely dependent on his next paycheck to keep the illusion alive. He is stressed, he is anxious, and wealth is not what you spend. Wealth is what you keep. Wealth is the money you do not convert into stuff. It is the optionality and the freedom, the absolute peace of mind that comes from